Hey guys, Sean here, and I've made a lot of videos talking about random trivia about Thomas DVDs, and I wanted to make a video talking about random trivia about movies. And since the Oscars are coming up soon, and Everything Everywhere All at Once is like one of my favorite movies now, and it's almost guaranteed to win Best Picture, I wanted to make a video talking about 95 different facts about each of the 95 Oscar ceremonies. But it's not going to be exactly 95 facts, some of them have more than one fact. So let's get started. The first Oscars was kind of unique because it was basically a private dinner, and the ceremony was 15 minutes long, and the winners were announced in advance. At the second Oscars, there were only 7 awards, and each of them went to a different film. At the third Oscars, the ceremony was in November of 1930, only 7 months after the second Oscars, and the eligibility was the last half of 1929 and the first half of 1930. At the fourth Oscars, one of the nominees was Jackie Cooper, who was 9 years old when he made Skippy, and to this day he is the only person under the age of 18 to be nominated for Best Actor. At the fifth Oscars, Grand Hotel is the only movie to win Best Picture but not get nominated for anything else. The sixth Oscars was the last year the eligibility was more than 1 year, from August 1st, 1932 to December 31st, 1933, up until 2020. At the seventh Oscars, W.S. Van Dyke directed 4 movies nominated for an Oscar, which is a record for most amount of Oscar-nominated movies from one director in 1 year. The Thin Man was nominated for Best Picture and Director and Actor. Manhattan Melodrama and Hideout was nominated for Best Story, and Eskimo won Best Editing. And it's also the only time where the movie that won Best Editing didn't get any other nominations. At the 8th Oscars, A Midsummer Night's Dream is the only film to win a write-in Oscar for Best Cinematography. They added them because there was kind of an uproar because they didn't nominate Bette Davis in Of Human Bondage. The 9th Oscars is the first time they introduced Supporting Actor and Supporting Actress, and My Man Godfrey is the first film to get all 4 acting nominations, and the only movie to get all 4 acting nominations but not nominated for Best Picture. At the 10th Oscars, A Star is Born is the first color film to be nominated for Best Picture. The 11th Oscars is one of only 2 times where 3 out of the 4 acting awards were won by repeat winners, and it's also the first year where one actor got 2 nominations for acting. Faye Bainter was nominated for Best Actress for White Banners, and she won Best Supporting Actress for Jezebel. At the 12th Oscars, Hattie McDaniel was the first African American to win an Oscar for Gone with the Wind.
If you don't care what folks says about this family, I does. I has told you and told you that she can always tell a lady but the way that she eat in front of folks like a bird. And I ain't aiming for you to go to Mr. John Wilkins's and eat like a field hand and gobble like a hog. Fiddle-dee-dee.
The 13th Oscars was the only time where 3 different directors had 2 movies nominated for Best Picture. Alfred Hitchcock had Rebecca and Foreign Correspondent, Sam Wood had Kitty Foyle and Our Town, and John Ford had The Long Voyage Home and The Grapes of Wrath. At the 14th Oscars, 69 movies were nominated for at least 1 Oscar, not counting shorts or documentaries. The 15th Oscars was the only time where the person presenting an Oscar also won it. Irving Berlin presented the Oscar for Best Original Song, which he won for White Christmas. The 16th Oscars is the last year until 2009 to have 10 movies nominated for Best Picture. At the 17th Oscars, Barry Fitzgerald in Going My Way was nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor for the same performance. And also, 34 movies were nominated for Best Score, 20 for Best Score for a Drama or Comedy, and 14 for Best Score of a Musical. The 18th Oscars is the last year where all of the nominees for Supporting Actor are first-time nominees. And also, Anne Blythe, who was nominated for Mildred Pierce, is the earliest Oscar nominee to still be alive, as of 2023. At the 19th Oscars, Harold Russell, who is a war veteran and not an actor, he won Best Supporting Actor as well as a Special Achievement Oscar, so he's the only person to win 2 Oscars for the same performance. The 20th Oscars is the last year until the 78th Oscars where no movie won more than 3 Oscars. At the 21st Oscars, Hamlet is the first non-Hollywood movie to win Best Picture. The 22nd Oscars is the only year where 2 movies got 2 nominations in an acting category in the same year. Ethel Waters and Ethel Barrymore was nominated for Pinky, and Celeste Holm and Elsa Lanchester was nominated for Come to the Stable. The 23rd Oscars, All About Eve, got 14 nominations, which is a record that has only been tied to this day. And it's also the last time where all of the people nominated for Best Director were nominated before. Joseph Mankiewicz won for A Letter to Three Wives. George Cukor was nominated for The Philadelphia Story. John Huston won for The Treasure of Sierra Madre. Carol Reed was nominated for The Fallen Idol. And Billy Wilder won for The Lost Weekend. The 24th Oscars is the last time where all 5 director nominees would win at one point, not counting George Stevens, who won for Place in the Sun. Elia Kazan won for Gentleman's Agreement. John Huston won for Treasure of Sierra Madre. William Wyler won for Miss Miniver, and Vincente Minnelli would later win for Gigi. At the 25th Oscars, The Bad and the Beautiful is the only movie to win 5 Oscars without a nomination for Best Picture. And the 26th Oscars is the last time where all 5 movies nominated for Best Picture were directed by people who directed previous Best Picture nominees. From Here to Eternity is from the director of High Noon. Julius Caesar is from the director of All About Eve. The Robe is from the director of The Bishop's Wife. Roman Holiday is from the director of Mrs. Miniver. And Shane is from the director of A Place in the Sun. And also, MGM made 16 movies nominated for at least one Oscar, and I'm pretty sure that's a record. At the 27th Oscars, On the Waterfront is the first movie to get 3 supporting actor nominations, and also Eva Marie Saint, who won for On the Waterfront, is the earliest Oscar winner to still be alive. At the 28th Oscars, Marty is the last movie until Parasite to win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Festival and Best Picture. At the 29th Oscars, this is interesting, they nominated the wrong movie called High Society for Best Original Story. They intended to nominate the Grace Kelly musical, but they instead nominated the Bowery Boys movie called High Society from 1955 instead. And also, it's a remake of the Philadelphia story, so it's not an original story anyway, so I don't know why they thought they wanted to nominate that. The 30th Oscars is the first time that all 5 Best Picture nominees were also nominated for Best Director. The 31st Oscars is the last year where one of the hosts also won an Oscar with David Niven. He also won an Oscar for Separate Tables. The 32nd Oscars is the only year where 3 movies got 2 nominations in one category. Suddenly Last Summer got 2 nominations for Best Actress, Anatomy of a Murder got 2 nominations for Supporting Actor, and Imitation of Life got 2 nominations for Supporting Actress. And also, Hormani Baddeley's performance in Room at the Top was 2 minutes and 19 seconds, so she has the shortest screen time of any Oscar-nominated performance. The 33rd Oscars, The Apartment was the last movie in black and white to win Best Picture until Schindler's List. The 34th Oscars, Sophia Loren, who won for Two Women, was the first person to win an Oscar for a non-English performance. The 35th Oscars, The Miracle Worker is the first movie to win 2 acting awards without a nomination for Best Picture, and the only other one is HUD the very next year. At the 36th Oscars, Tom Jones is the only movie to get 3 nominations for Best Supporting Actress. The 37th Oscars is the first time where all 4 of the acting nominees were not American. The 38th Oscars was the first to be broadcast live in color.
And now, for the first time in color, the 38th Academy Awards!
The 39th Oscars is the only year where every movie nominated for Best Picture was also nominated for Best Actor, and also has the earliest Best Picture nominee whose director is still alive for Norman Jewison in The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming, and also the earliest Best Director nominee who's still alive with Claude Lelouch in A Man and a Woman, and the earliest Best Actor nominee who's still alive with Michael Caine in Alfie. The 40th Oscars was the first time that 3 movies were nominated for the Big 5, Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, and Screenplay, with Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. At the 41st Oscars, the 4 songs that didn't win Best Original Song had the same name as the film, with Star, Funny Girl, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and For Love and Ivy. At the 42nd Oscars, Midnight Cowboy is the first X-rated movie to win Best Picture. The 43rd Oscars was the last time that all of the nominees for Best Actress were first-time nominees. At the 44th Oscars, the movie called Who is Harry Kellerman and Why is He Saying Those Terrible Things About Me has the longest title for any movie nominated for an Oscar. At the 45th Oscars, Charlie Chaplin's Limelight came out in 1952 but wasn't eligible until 1972, where it won Best Score. At the 46th Oscars, there was a guy who At the 46th Oscars, there was a guy who streaked on stage. Yeah.
And someone, quite likely, fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get in his life is by stripping off and showing his shortcomings.
The 47th Oscars is the only time where every movie nominated in one category was released by the same studio, where every movie nominated for Best Costume Design was released by Paramount: The Great Gatsby, Chinatown, Daisy Miller, The Godfather Part 2, and Murder in the Orient Express. And this is also the first year ever where no movies released by MGM got nominated for one Oscar. The 48th Oscars is the first year where all of the nominees for Best Actor have been nominated before. At the 49th Oscars, Beatrice Straight and Network won an Oscar for 5 minutes and 2 seconds of screen time, and also Network is the last movie to have 5 acting nominations. At the 50th Oscars, The Turning Point has the record for the most amount of nominations without any wins, with 11, only being tied with The Color Purple. At the 51st Oscars, Maggie Smith in California Suite won an Oscar for playing a character who in the movie was nominated but didn't win an Oscar. It's kind of like a reverse Judy Garland to Star Wars Born, where her character won an Oscar in the movie, but she didn't win an Oscar in real life. The 52nd Oscars is the last year where none of the 20 nominated performances were portraying real people. At the 53rd Oscars, Robert Redford is the first actor to win Best Director for his debut film, For Ordinary People. At the 54th Oscars, only 9 movies took up the 20 acting spots, which is a record. 55th Oscars, Louis Gossett Jr. for An Officer and a Gentleman was the first black actor to win Supporting Actor. The 56th Oscars is the only year where there were double acting nominations for actor and actress, Tom Courtenay and Albert Finney in The Dresser, and Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger in Terms of Endearment. And it's also the first year ever where no movies released by United Artists got any nominations. The 57th Oscars is the only time where each of the songs nominated for Best Original Song topped the Billboard Hot 100. At the 58th Oscars, the actual Oscar ceremony won an Emmy. At the 59th Oscars, Marlee Matlin was the first deaf actress to win an Oscar. At the 60th Oscars, it was the last year where all of the nominees for Best Supporting Actress have only ever gotten that one nomination. The 61st Oscars is the only year where none of the movies nominated for Best Supporting Actor were nominated for Best Picture, Director, Actor, or Actress. And it's also the only year where all of the movies nominated for Best Supporting Actress were also nominated in Best Picture. At the 62nd Oscars, Driving Miss Daisy is the third movie to win Best Picture but not get nominated for Best Director. But it's definitely not the third movie to win Best Picture when other more deserving movies got snubbed, am I right? At the 63rd Oscars, Misery is the only Stephen King adaptation to win an Oscar, with Kathy Bates who won Best Actress. At the 64th Oscars, Beauty and the Beast is the first animated film to get nominated for Best Picture. And it's also the first movie to get 3 songs nominated for Best Song. Hey, Cole. At the 65th Oscars, Denzel Washington in Malcolm X has the record for the most screen time of any Best Actor nomination at like 2 hours and 1 minute. Hi. Hey, Cole. Meow. Don't look at me. The 66th Oscars is the only year where 2 people got double acting nominations in the same year. Emma Thompson was nominated for Supporting Actress in the Name of the Father and Best Actress in The Remains of the Day, and Holly Hunter won Best Actress for The Piano and was nominated for Supporting Actress in The Firm. The 67th Oscars is the second time where 3 out of the 4 acting winners were repeat winners. The 68th Oscars is the first time that a person won for acting and writing. Emma Thompson won Best Actress for Howard's End in 1992 and won Adapted Screenplay for writing Sense and Sensibility. At the 69th Oscars, Rachel Portman for Emma was the first woman to win Best Score. The 70th Oscars has the highest ratings of any Oscars, with 57 million people having watched it, mostly because Titanic got like 14 nominations. The 71st Oscars is the only time where 2 people in 2 separate movies got nominated for playing the same character. Cate Blanchett in Elizabeth and Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love both got nominated for playing Queen Elizabeth I. At the 72nd Oscars, this is an interesting story, 55 Oscar statuettes were stolen from a Roadway Express loading dock in California, and then 9 days later, they found 52 of them in a trash can at a supermarket in Koreatown. And then 3 years later, they found one of them during a drug bust in a Miami mansion, but 2 of them are still missing to this day. Cole. Are you gonna sit? My weddings. At the 73rd Oscars, with Joaquin Phoenix getting a nomination, that makes him and River Phoenix the first brothers to get acting nominations. The 74th Oscars has the longest runtime of any Oscar ceremony, with 4 hours and 23 minutes. The 75th Oscars is the only year with 5 Best Picture nominations, where all of the movies nominated for Best Picture were also nominated for Best Editing. At the 76th Oscars, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is the last movie to win 11 Oscars, and the last time that Best Picture went to a movie that's in the top 10 highest-grossing movies of the year. At the 77th Oscars, Cate Blanchett in The Aviator won an Oscar for portraying another Oscar winner, Katharine Hepburn. The 78th Oscars is the first time since 1961 where all 4 acting winners were first-time nominees, and the first time since 1956 where picture, director, and all 4 acting awards went to different movies. At the 79th Oscars, 4 out of the 5 movies nominated for Best Actor were only nominated in that category. Forrest Whitaker in The Last King of Scotland, Ryan Gosling in Half Nelson, Peter O'Toole in Venus, Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness, Leonardo DiCaprio in Blood Diamonds got a couple nominations. And that makes it the only time since the 6th Oscars where none of the movies nominated for Best Actor were nominated for Best Screenplay or Best Picture. And it's also the only time where the movie with the most nominations of any nominated movie didn't get nominated for Best Picture, with Dreamgirls, who got 8 nominations. At the 80th Oscars, 18 movies took up the 20 acting spots. The only movie that got multiple acting nominations was Michael Clayton. At the 81st Oscars, The Dark Knight was the last movie to get 8 nominations without a nomination for Best Picture. At the 82nd Oscars, Kathryn Bigelow is the first woman to win Best Director. The 83rd Oscars is the first time since 1973 where somebody who was nominated for an Oscar was also one of the hosts, with James Franco. At the 84th Oscars, The Artist is the first mostly silent film to win since Wings at the very first Oscars. At the 85th Oscars, this is the only time where all 5 people in a category were previous winners. In the supporting actor category, Christoph Waltz won for Inglourious Basterds, Alan Arkin won for Little Miss Sunshine, Robert De Niro won for Raging Bull and Godfather 2, Philip Seymour Hoffman has won for Capote, and Tommy Lee Jones won for The Fugitive. And it's also the only time where all 5 nominees for Best Supporting Actress were nominated before. Anne Hathaway was nominated for Rachel Getting Married, Amy Adams was nominated for Junebug, Sally Field was nominated for Norma Ray, Helen Hunt was nominated for As Good as It Gets, and Jackie Weaver was nominated for Animal Kingdom. And because of that, only 4 out of the 20 nominees are first-time nominees: Hugh Jackman, Bradley Cooper, Emmanuel Riva, and Quincy Wallace. And also, completely by coincidence, Emmanuel Riva is the oldest woman to be nominated for Best Actress, and Quincy Wallace is the youngest woman to be nominated for Best Actress. The 86th Oscars is the only time where all of the movies nominated for Best Original Screenplay were also nominated for Best Picture, and it's the most recent year where the movie that won Supporting Actress won more than one award. At the 87th Oscars, Birdman is the first movie to not get nominated for Best Editing and win Best Picture since Ordinary People, probably because it's simulating a long take and they just didn't notice the cuts. At the 88th Oscars, Emmanuel Lubezki is the first person to win 3 consecutive Best Cinematography wins. In the 89th Oscars, you all remember this, they accidentally announced that La La Land would win Best Picture, but it was actually Moonlight.
Moonlight, Best Picture.
At the 90th Oscars, it's the only year where 4 out of the 5 movies nominated for Adapted Screenplay weren't nominated for Best Picture. The only Best Picture nominee was Call Me By Your Name. At the 91st Oscars, it's the first year since 1989 where there would be no host. At the 92nd Oscars, Parasite is the first foreign language film to win Best Picture. And it's also the first time that every movie nominated for Best Costume Design and every movie nominated for Best Production Design also was nominated for Best Picture. And it's also the first time where 4 movies got more than 10 nominations. And at the 93rd Oscars, because of, you know what, it's the first time since the 6 Oscars where the eligibility was more than 1 year. And it's the first time with more than 5 movies nominated for Best Picture, where every movie nominated for Best Picture had at least 1 acting nomination. At the 94th Oscars, Coda is the first movie to win Best Picture, but not be nominated for Best Director or Best Editing. And it's the first movie released by a streaming service to win Best Picture. And since the 95th Oscars is the most recent one, I'm just going to list off a whole bunch of trivia. This year is the first year since 1934 where all the nominees for Best Actor are first-time nominees, and the first time since 1977 where 2 movies got 4 acting nominations with The Banshees of Inisherin and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the first time since 1991 where 2 movies got double acting nominations with those 2 same movies. And John Williams, who was nominated for Best Original Score, is the oldest nominee ever at 90 years old, and the first person to be nominated in 7 different decades. Steven Spielberg, with The Fabelmans, he now ties with William Wyler with having 13 movies nominated for Best Picture. And it's the first time ever where all 5 nominees for Best Director were also nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And it's the longest gap since a Meryl Streep nomination at 5 years. It's been 5 years since The Post. All Quiet on the Western Front is the 3rd remake of a Best Picture winner to get nominated after Mutiny and the Bounty and West Side Story, and the 9th remake of a Best Picture nominee to get nominated. And Judd Hirsch, who was nominated for The Fabelmans, has the longest gap between nominations, where he was nominated in Ordinary People 42 years ago. And it's the first time that 2 movies grossing more than $1 billion got nominated for Best Picture, Top Gun Maverick and Avatar 2. And finally, Avatar 2 is the first movie since Return of the King to be nominated for Best Picture and win visual effects, but not get nominated for cinematography. And also, James Hong, who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, had a small uncredited performance in 1955's Love is a Many Splendored Thing. So he has the record for largest span between first appearance in a Best Picture nominee versus latest appearance in a Best Picture nominee at 67 years. And to go along with that, Angela Lansbury, who was in Glass Onion, which was nominated for Adapted Screenplay, her first movie was Gaslight from 1944, so that's a span of 78 years between first appearance in a movie nominated for any Oscar versus latest appearance in an Oscar-nominated film. Well, that was a long video, so I hope you like it and hope you learn some random piece of trivia about the Oscars, and here's to movies that are as good as Everything Everywhere All at Once coming out in the future and getting the Oscar love they deserve.